Nervy without notes.
I feel a bit nervous, yeah.
You're not right without notes.
It's a big podcast.
8 o'clock, no notes. I'm wondering what you're going to say, to be honest. I'm wondering what your involvement's going to be in this podcast.
Yeah.
To be honest, don't really know what I'm doing.
He was often a player that I would buy on Football Manager.
It's already a terrible reason.
From Jon Snow, Matt puts Dan's wardrobe to shame.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Look at him, the cat that got the cream.
Ian Taylor said it was the worst thing he'd ever seen in his life.
My theory on referees is you give them the nicest changing room in the stadium.
This is the most bizarre thing I've ever
Hear me out.
I cannot believe Gabriel Bonnerhor's younger
That's
than
crazy,
That's
isn't it?
terrible. Yeah, we may well have lost listeners early doors again with a long-winded intro. Go, shoot. Hello, welcome to the Villa View podcast with cardigan-enthused Tom Julian on my right and me in a rabbit jumper. Apologies in advance if this podcast is an absolute nightmare. We've never recorded this early before, and I'm going to be honest, when the alarm went off, I was not happy.
You got an extra 45 minutes compared to me, who had to trek across London. Not that I'm bitter, but nice to see that you're celebrating the year anniversary of the Rabbits coming home.
Oh yeah, that's true. I've had them. I had Ed's Manchester a year now.
I'm sad. It's sad that I brought that up.
Nice knowledge from you, Tom.
You post too much on social media. That's your problem.
Well, Tom, I've got a brand to build, so that's what I'm trying to do.
So the Rabbits.
Yeah, exactly.
It's massive news. The Notes, once again, for the second week in a row, the podcast was delayed, not through any fault of our own this week. There was a couple of booth issues, but it worked out in our favour because massive news, Dean Smith, John Terry through the door last night, and we were planning to record yesterday morning, so still had to get up ridiculously early.
Yeah, my alarm still went off.
Yeah, but the news is good for Villa View because we get to talk about Dean Smith.
Yeah, and a very odd announcement time that obviously has done us favours in the podcast realm of things, but yeah, 10 p.m. to announce a manager. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
No, it seemed very odd. And to be honest, I'm glad that we know the news for podcast reasons. But it doesn't. Why didn't you just announce it Thursday at 8 a.m., 9 a.m.?
Leaks, maybe. Not the vegetable, but the fact that people always find out, don't they? And then eventually it will get leaked.
But there was so much gossip around it anyway. It was like, oh, it's definitely going to be Henri. Oh, it's definitely going to be Faria. There's definitely going to be this and that and whoever. So really, the leak at that point, nobody knew what was going on, so that didn't really matter. Anyway,
annoyed me all that did. Like, okay, I get that Henri probably has turned it down because, from what I heard, that was he seemed to be the main target and the one Villa were talking to.
Yeah.
But then after that, basically, I think that it works that you invite people to come down for like an interview or a chat, and obviously they wanted Rui Ferreira to come down. I'm not saying they wanted to give him the job, maybe come down for a chat, and then he says he's happy with what he's doing at the moment. And then it's like his big headline news: another manager's rejected the Villa job. Well, they haven't. They've just rejected coming down and having a chat about it.
Well, that kind of is a rejection, though, isn't it? If you're not going to have a chat about it,
they're not necessarily going to be offered the job. They just wanted to talk to him.
Yeah, I see what you mean, but it doesn't really matter now, does it? Because most fans, I think, will be very, very happy with the appointment of Dean Smith. He leaves Brentford. John Percy reporting that it's only 300 grand in compensation.
It's a bargain nowadays.
I mean, if that's true, then that is an absolute steal, especially compared with what we paid for managers in the past, mentioning no names. McLeish.
And are probably still paying now in wages.
Very much so. So, Dan, talk us through it. Dean Smith, John Terry, feels a bit like, I don't want to say it, but a dream team?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised that it's John Terry with Smith. I felt like John Terry with Henri made sense if it had been Rui Ferreira with John Terry. That made sense as well because they knew each other. But Dean Smith's had coaches with him throughout his entire managerial career. I mean, there's nothing to say that they still won't arrive. I imagine they're taking caretaker charge of Brentford at the moment. But I wasn't 100% convinced that Dean Smith would want John Terry on board. I'm trying to explain this. Not at this time of the morning. It's bound to come out completely wrong.
Yeah.
But you kind of feel like that was already decided, John Terry. So I'm not saying Dean Smith's not happy about it, but I don't think that would have been his choice because he's already there essentially.
Yeah.
And you feel like it's because he's such a big name, and with all due respect to Dean Smith, I'm very, very pleased we've got him. He was who I wanted this time last week when we did the podcast. Dean Smith's not a massive name, so having the big name underneath him, you'd think who wants to be a manager one day. In some respects, you feel like that could be seen to undermine him. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't think that will happen. John Terry's a very respectful person, I think, and I think he'll be pleased to work under Smith, and he'll like learn stuff from him.
Smith's a former centre back as well, isn't he? They'll hopefully have that kind of. I don't know if they know each other previous, but then there might be some sort of relationship there.
Yeah.
Centre back reunion. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very, very good appointment. I don't know what you think. And in the main, looking on social media last night, there was a few complaints, but nothing too heavy.
I don't really see how you can complain at this point. Dean Smith has done a wonderful job. He did a great job at Walsall, a great job at Brentford, made them really adopted the total football approach, which is so exciting as a Villa fan, having seen pretty poor football for 6-7 years at this point. It's great to have somebody in that wants to play fast, attacking, fluid football. We've got the players to do it. John Terry coming back is another boost. I just don't see where the complaint lies at this point. I mean, if we get battered by Swansea and then QPR, then you can have. Well, you can't really complain after 2 games anyway. But at least there's something to complain about. Right now, everything's looking up.
But that could happen.
It could happen.
It's going to take time. He's not going to come in and be able to implement a philosophy straight away.
Well, you say that.
On these Villa players.
I did a bit of a deep dive, and when he was at Walsall and he took over in January at Walsall, and then by the 29th of January they beat Bristol Rovers 6-1.
Oh, really?
Walsall's best ever result. So I'm hoping for a 6-1 win at QPR. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Anything less is a failure.
Because some people say that Brentford have got that set philosophy anyway. It's not he's the coach, but if he leaves, it doesn't change, and the manager before him, it doesn't change. Well, I like Warburton. He's a good manager. So they've got like this set way. But apparently, he was the same at Walsall.
Yeah,
like they had a very attractive brand of football, and he got them into the playoffs, and they've not really been near there since.
Well, they were when he took over, they were bottom, and they were I think 9 points off safety, and he managed to save them. Obviously it took a lot of effort, but they beat Southampton in the process and managed to just stave off relegation. Obviously Villa is a slightly different scenario, but we have the players ready to play, and we saw it in little spells last year that Villa can play in that way. I don't think there's a huge, obviously it is going to take time for him to bed in and get his philosophy in, but John Terry obviously already knows the club, and I don't think it's going to take that long for these young and quite acutely aware players that attacking and exciting display of football is not that far away.
No, and I actually think the John Terry appointment was a pretty clever one, because the assistant manager is normally the man in the dressing room that gets the dressing room right. Well, who better is there to do that? Because we saw what he did as captain last season, him coming in with some authority as assistant manager. The players all respect him. Every single one of those players at Villa will respect John Terry. So having him as the confidant in the dressing room, as it often works in football, I think that's a massive, massive thing for Villa.
Do you think, I haven't seen this at all at social media, but my first thought was it's a bit of a shame he's retired. Isn't there?
Oh God, yeah.
Isn't there a advantage to having John Terry play as well as be an assistant manager and learn his trade? Or do you think John Terry just wants to be solely focused on management now?
Probably tunnel vision now that he hasn't played for a long time. Now, when people were saying towards the end of the season that he was struggling a little bit, I didn't see that myself. He struggled a little bit against Fulham, as we all did.
But we've been struggling massively at the back.
You were there with me on Saturday.
Yeah.
The defending's just non-existent. At times, it's clear where all our problems lie. Although I must say, actually, we're not very good going forward either
right now.
But there's merit for him playing, because we haven't got any centre backs, but he obviously wants to come in and focus fully on his coaching, so fair play to him. I still hope that we're going to bring in a free transfer centre back, because although I don't think they're the world's best, they're centre backs, and we were crying out for someone. I mean, another player playing out of position on Saturday, Alan Hutton playing left centre back. I mean, we're going to concede goals. That's not a dig at Alan Hutton. It's not his position. We're going to concede goals.
And Axel Tuanzebe's so young. He looked a bit naive, and he needed somebody experienced with him, next to him. And Alan Hutton is not that guy.
Tuanzebe was one of the better players, I'd say, on Saturday, but he was very up and down.
Which doesn't say a lot.
1 minute he'd be doing something really good, The next minute he'd be doing something disastrous.
Well, let's come on to Millwall in a little bit. I just want to... John Terry obviously retired last week officially as a player, so obviously that's a bit out of date now, but it was interesting that he doffed his cap to Villa in his retirement message via Instagram. It was a privilege to represent such a renowned football club with great fans. That's what he said about Villa, and I look forward to the next chapter in my life and the challenges ahead. Do you think he already knew at that point that the Villa job, whether it was obviously not the management job, but a role in the coaching setup, was on the cards?
I'd imagine so. It seemed like the owners wanted a name. Obviously, the links with Henry. Mm-hmm. Without him becoming manager, John Terry is still that name, isn't he? He's still got that pull, and he's a big name that will attract a lot of attention at the football club. I think it could be a really good combination. I really do. Dean Smith ticks a lot of boxes that Villa fans were crying out for. A lot of things people were saying Bruce wasn't. Dean Smith does all those things. So he's got a brand of football. He's got a set way of playing. He's a Villa man. Mm-hmm. He's a massive Villa fan. His family are all Villa fans. I think his family still live in the area, and he stayed in digs down here. Yeah. During the week, he kind of fits into that modern system. Am I right in thinking he's a head coach rather than a manager?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
So he fits
the sporting director,
and he's used to working under those realms. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense as well. He's a heavy believer in promoting youth players and getting a young team as well. So Villa fans, the academy players have somewhat stalled in that a lot of them are now too good for the under-23s, but they weren't getting a look in the first team. Yeah. I mean, we haven't got many centre-backs or a left-back at the moment. I can't think who the left-back is for the under-23s, but you imagine he's going to come in straight away and think, well, if we haven't got a left-back that can play my attacking brand of football, I'll go and get one from the 23s.
Was Mitch Clark playing there last year?
I think he might have been playing right back, but he can play left back.
All across, didn't he? Because he definitely played left back for Villa.
Yeah, he did. He played left back for Villa. So suddenly people are like, I think there was a good interview with Scott Hogan in the Daily Mail last night. He said it's now a really interesting and exciting time at Villa because players that were the manager's favourites and that were getting picked have kind of got to start again and prove themselves, and then the players like Hogan and Lansbury who weren't getting picked at all, had nothing to play for during the week because they knew they weren't going to get picked. They come in and they've got a clean slate, and I'm really excited for Hogan because we have not once really tried to play for his strength. Apart from a brief period last season where he did score goals, we have not played to his strengths at all. And here straight away, we've got a manager who got 21 goals in 27 games out of him.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. So I'm looking forward to what he can do.
Dean Smith has a slight headache now, doesn't he? Because, like you say, he's got the best out of Scott Hogan before, and Hogan, Lansbury, these players will be energised. Even potentially players like Ross McCormack may see a sliver of light.
There is He's in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know when he comes back, but he's in Australia at the moment.
Is he?
Yeah, he's gone on loan.
Oh.
Well, you're struggling without those notes
sure?
in front of you. Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure.
I thought another player went to the same club.
Delat went to Australia, and I'm pretty sure McCormack did as well. Maybe I'm wrong. Very unlikely, though. Yeah. You do that. I'll just talk to myself, shall I, while you...
Central Coast Mariners, you're right. You're spot on.
Thank you.
Okay, so maybe he'll be back in January. But dealing with the players that we've got then, Scott Hogan looking forward to reuniting with Smith. Tammy Abraham, who's looked sharp but underfed. Codger, who again needs a little bit of a new lease of life. There's going to be a selection dilemma. If all of these players are up for it and feel motivated to play well, that's quite a nice headache to have.
Yeah, I think, if I'm right, I might be wrong in saying this, I think Dean Smith likes a bit of rotation.
Right.
As well, he doesn't keep the same team every day because of every game. Because of the demands of the football. It's a high intensity football. I think he's quite fluid in his changes and stuff. So I said last night on Twitter, he'll be absolutely licking his lips at the striking and midfield positions. He'll be looking at that and thinking, "Wow, I can really." These guys playing the type of football I want them to play, that could be devastating. But he'll also look at the defence and think, "What's happened there?" He's very, very uneven, like the numbers wise. Yeah. One left back, two centre backs, a million right backs. Like it doesn't work, does it? So he's gonna have a job with getting that right. That's going to be difficult, and that's why I say people need to be patient with him. This season could very well not be the season where we're challenging for top 6 because he's, as I say, it's going to take time to build and time to get his messages across. Obviously, we're only 2 points off top 6, which seems baffling when we've won one game.
And 15th
in 11, and we're sitting 15th in the table. I mean, we just pulled the table up on the computer screen, and on the first look, we couldn't even see Villa.
Can't see
they didn't
Villa,
fit on the screen, and that's embarrassing.
4 points off the top 6.
Is it 4 now? Oh, yeah, because we lost at the weekend.
Also, update, Ross McCormack has gone on a year-long loan, so he won't be back for the first year of Dean Smith. And
we're all right in attack. It's not like
we won't be, but I was just kind of making the point that there's a lot of players there who will think that they've got a bit of a second chance.
Andre Green, on loan, I believe he can come back in January.
Right.
I'd hope a couple of the youngsters can come back in January as well, like Clark and Sullivan. Because just in numbers terms, we don't have enough. It was silly to let them go on loan because we're losing. Well, they could be building up their careers, and I don't think it would be any worse with them in the team. If I'm being honest,
new players like Neeland and El Ghazi, do you think they're excited by the new manager, or it must be a bit weird when a manager signs you and then he leaves almost straight away? That must be quite a difficult process. Obviously, Tammy Abraham had the old emoji with the steam coming out his nose, the frustrated emoji, if you will. But I would see his excitement at the prospect of Smith and Terry. These players that don't really understand or don't know perhaps so much about Dean Smith and never played with John Terry before, they must feel a little bit anxious about their place in the role, especially Neeland, who's had a tough start to life at Villa Park.
Yeah, but there's probably reasons for that, isn't there? He might give him a bit of a refresh mentally that might help him. I'd imagine he'll start off as the goalkeeper. I mean, to be fair, I can't remember, someone was talking to us about Sarkic at the week, and I can't remember if you were there still.
No.
At that point, saying he should be number one. He's a class act. Dean Smith might come in, take one look at Sarkic. He's very good with the ball at his feet, and think, actually, I fancy him to go in goal. Interestingly, Dean Smith had just dropped his number one goalkeeper at Brentford, Bentley.
Really?
He'd made a couple of mistakes. He's very good with his feet, Bentley. Good distribution. He made a few mistakes, and they put the other keeper in, Daniels, over the last few games. It was a bit like us when we randomly threw Bunning from nowhere. So it's a clean slate for everyone. You could well find that Sarkic comes in and he's suddenly the number one goalkeeper. But yeah, I think, I'm not going to name names, but the players, I think the players are happy with the Dean Smith appointment. I think it's a really, really clever appointment. I wasn't convinced that we were going to go that way. I mean, he drifted out to 18-1 yesterday when the Henry news broke, and I looked at it and I thought, I want it to happen, and I thought those odds are very, very long. So I just been chucking a bet on.
Nice.
And winning some money, which was good.
That's why we're going for 8:30 a.m. beers after this, is it?
We will not be going for that.
8:30 flat whites.
You were struggling to stay out after the Millwall game. In fact, you did a runner.
I did a bit of a runner. Yeah, we got separated on the train, didn't we? And
I think you did that on purpose.
I definitely didn't. I was walking with. I can't remember who I was walking with. And then, anyway, you guys lagged behind, and then there was a train literally going home 2 minutes later, and I was like, do you know what, I'm going to...
We got off the train, text off Tom Julian, I've gone home. I thought, the typical Thomas.
Well, wife's 7.5 months pregnant, mate.
I don't know if Dolan didn't stay out very late.
Did you stay out?
He stayed for one bit. I was home by 9, I think, maybe 9:30.
Okay.
Me and Aston stayed out.
When was I home? 6:30, something like that?
Yeah, you probably did the right thing.
I definitely did.
It was hardly joyous spirits in the pub afterwards.
Well, before we get on to that, let's just talk about one guy that we haven't spoken about. Admittedly, one man that we don't know too much about at this point, Jesus Garcia Pitach.
Good name, strong name.
I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's going to be the sporting director at Villa Park. As you mentioned before, Dean Smith has worked under sporting directors before, so the whole thing fits together. It kind of feels like for the first time since the new owners came in that there is a semblance of an organisation rather than just throwing ideas at things.
I've got to commend them, actually. They've got that appointment done pretty swiftly.
Yeah. I think there was a few people on Twitter, and myself included, to be honest, who were a little bit wary about the new owners. Foreign ownership is something that I'm trying to take more seriously, not just seeing the money and going, this is it. And the way that we've been playing was dreadful, but the fact that we were kind of floating around sixth still kind of made me feel nervous that the owners would just kind of keep waiting and seeing. And to be fair, they made the decision maybe a week or so late, but then they've, like you say, caught up with themselves and brought in two proven guys in Terry and Smith. Obviously, Terry not proven in management, but proven in the dressing room. And Petach, who is a former Valencia guy. I'm not going to pretend that I know everything about him because I don't. But it's a system that Dean Smith is happy in, and that is something that I can definitely get behind.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I got a bit carried away with the Henry stuff. I did like the thought of that. It was an attractive appointment, wasn't it? Obviously, one of the best players that's ever played in the Premier League. But we both said last week, I think the sensible, logical appointment for what we're trying to do would be Dean Smith. It's not often Villa go down the logical route, so that's pleasing as well. Like you say, it feels like instead of just chucking mud at it and hoping something sticks, there's a structure that works, and that is the correct structure, and it's a more modern structure. You kind of feel like Villa are moving with the times a little bit.
Well, the only link left that doesn't quite fit, I think, is the Mendes link still. So now we've got Smith, who's going to hopefully bring through the youth and have those players. Petach is a Mendes guy, according to reports. So how we balance bringing in fairly expensive foreign talent with our own development is something that still needs to be worked out, and I look forward to seeing the plan for that with Purslow and the new manager.
But Dean Smith's kind of used to that, isn't he, at Brentford? Because I don't think he chose all the players that they bought. I think that's what Brentford did. They'd bring the players in, and Dean Smith's the coach. He's the one that worked with them.
But there will be a relationship. Dean Smith will also have to have a say in that at some point.
Yeah, the manager always has a say.
So just that's the only bit of the puzzle that maybe won't fluidly work, but that's a relationship, and Dean Smith, by all accounts, looks like a relationships kind of guy, and hopefully that Petach and Smith are on the same wavelength, and we get a very well organised, well run and successful club again.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Like I say, it's something we're trying something different. We're trying to be modern. I mean, I'm trying to think. The last few appointments haven't really been modern appointments.
No.
The Di Matteo, okay, I can see why we did that. It didn't work, but this. I mean, it's nice to kind of beat Brentford at something by getting their manager, because we haven't managed to beat Brentford since they've been since we've been in the Championship. It's been a real struggle, but I kind of feel like we've got one over them. Not that I want to get one over them, because I quite like Brentford. Obviously, they're very local to us, but they've always impressed me. And Dean Smith's teams, well, Brentford have impressed me every time we played them in the Championship. So he should be able to get a tune out of this squad. Really, really should going forward.
Well, his first job will be to take charge against Swansea after the international break, and he's got a fairly big job to do, as we've talked about, because you and I were at Millwall on Saturday with Dolan as well, and it was dreadful, wasn't it? It was
so bad.
It was another really, really bad performance all round. Tammy Abraham scored a very smart goal. It was up the other end to us, so you and I were like, oh, it was all right, but then I watched it back and it was really, really nice scissor kick finish. And that was the last time we really tested Amos in goal for Millwall. Bree had a chance where he headed it just past the post. It could have gone anywhere and was very well directed, but just not quite well enough. But like we said before, at the back we were at 6s and 7s. Hutton and Twanzebe not playing together at centre-back, and not a centre-back pairing that I'd like to see going forward. And we just didn't win any headers, did we?
Every set piece looks an absolute danger. Yeah. Felt like we were going to concede every time a corner came in, didn't we?
Yeah.
Just not a clever performance. Not a particularly clever team selection either. Why, when we've got all these wingers, that the best Kevin McDonald could come up with was Hourahan and El Mohammadi on the wings. Obviously, everyone knows we rate Connor and love him. You don't want to play left mid though.
No.
Well, even right mid makes more sense because he can cut in. Playing him left mid, you're just giving him nothing.
At 65 minutes or so, we had 4 centre mids on, something like that.
Yeah.
It was balmy. It just didn't work, and we had no width. Like you say, we were beaten to every header. Neil Harris, Sean Williams could have added to Millwall's lead, and Neil
Harris, the manager, was going to come on and score.
Could have got worse. Did I say Neil Harris?
Yeah.
I've got Neil Harris in my
Neil Harris
notes.
is the manager. This is where the notes just don't work because you put things down that aren't true.
Who hit the bar?
I don't know, but it wasn't Neil Harris. He'd have done well to strike one from the dugout.
Hang on,
Tom.
I'm going to find out.
It doesn't really matter.
It
I don't think
matters to me.
I think it's past the point of caring now. If you care about this stuff, you've got to care while you're writing the notes.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
I do care.
Second time I've been right today.
Bar. I'm not going to find out quick
You're
enough.
killing the podcast
Yeah,
there.
that's
Killing
two.
the flow.
It's very early, and I should say that I came out strong on Twitter and said that early would suit me.
No, and so far, not so.
It's fallen apart.
So
Isn't it?
far, not so.
I am going to find out who scored that. Who hit the bar. This is why I said we should just skip the Millwall
Move
game
on to Dolan shoes.
because it doesn't matter anymore.
Attack someone else.
Is there anything else you want to talk about with the Millwall game? It was a depressing.
I think we should talk about it a bit because we haven't spoke about it. I think fans that weren't there would like to know what it was like.
It was terrible.
Yeah, it was really bad.
It was awful.
I felt Dolan's shoes summed up the performance.
Yeah. So Dolan wore these baths that were a bit.
Baths.
Baths. That's what my dad calls them.
Really
Baths.
good word.
Yeah.
I'd say them being called baths as well.
Yeah. Which were made of some sort of linen.
And to be honest, I thought they looked like blue slippers.
Yeah, they were of a suede or a faux suede, something like that. And
Definitely faux, looking at the water seepage that had gone into them.
so it started raining. It was even before it was raining, just kind of the moisture in the air and on the floor, and these shoes just looked soaking wet. And Dolan throughout was just like,
Yeah, he wasn't having it, was he?
my feet aren't wet.
They were soaked. Those socks and shoes are in the bin.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely in the bin.
He said he bought 2 pairs as well. Bought
They
a
had a
pair
red
of red.
pair, didn't he? A pair of ruby slippers.
Do you think it's because he wants to go 1 claret, 1 blue at some point?
No, he's a quite flamboyant shoe man.
Yeah.
Isn't he, Don? He's always got a pair of flamboyant shoes.
Me and Dolan share that.
I mean, you just turn up. I mean, it's standard stuff.
I own about 3 pairs of shoes: running trainers, normal trainers, and a pair of nice
I think
shoes.
I've bought 3 pairs of shoes in the last month.
I don't see the point.
Well,
Clearly.
yeah.
Anyway, the big talking point of Saturday happened before the game, where we were heading to the game. There was a few beers consumed, and a fair few fans needed a little bit of light relief.
It did feel like everyone who got off the train went for a wee.
Yeah,
Didn't it?
and it's not a long train to South Bermondsey. It's like 10 minutes, isn't it? Maybe
We've
less.
been drinking all morning though.
Yeah, and so we went for a little wee, but you picked an inopportune spot, didn't
Yeah,
you?
it's a silly spot. I thought people were walking down, and I thought, why's no one going to that spot there? And I soon found out why no one was going to that spot.
Turns out there was a big bunch of quite long and quite wavy stinging nettles.
Yeah, I got caught in a crossfire.
Yeah, so you had to kind of hold up what you were going and then make it to the stadium and then go again.
Yeah, it did hurt. I really needed a wee that whole day. That
tough.
took a lot of enjoyment out of the day. I
Yeah,
just kept needing a wee.
that's the problem with drinking.
Yeah, I'm not doing that again.
No.
No, I'm not going to drink before, drink after.
A lot of people noticed your issues as we were walking by, didn't they?
Well, because I yelped.
Yeah, that didn't help.
When the stinging nettle
Didn't
caught
go
me.
incognito,
Yeah,
did
it
you?
was. I feel like I can't be incognito either.
No.
Bad time to get recognised when you go for a week,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is.
Yeah,
First world problem, that, isn't it?
yeah. I'm not saying I'm a celebrity or anything like that.
You are a bit.
I'm not. I'm not.
I mean, you're not a celebrity, that's for certain. I'm trying to think of anything else that was relevant of this Millwall game because it was a disappointing one to watch. It was a disappointing one to watch back.
I thought the whole day was disappointing.
Thanks.
The weather.
Yeah.
I felt
Company.
I feel like I didn't have a good time. And it's not often you can, even usually when we lose an away game, I can come away saying I had a good time.
Yeah.
I didn't even feel like that. And I know Aston and Dolan felt the same.
Yeah.
Felt like a complete waste of a day.
Yeah, the only saving grace is that it's about 25 minutes from where I live, and so it wasn't like we went up to Sheffield United
Yeah,
and
that's
lost,
true.
and so I could still
Yeah,
get back.
even that,
in
like we
the
did
evening.
like 8 hours travel that day, and we lost 4-1. Got absolutely pumped.
Hmm.
But I think me, you, and Rollo still came away from it thinking, at least we've had a decent laugh.
Yeah.
I didn't even come away from Millwall thinking that.
No, there wasn't. But the weather was so miserable.
Yeah.
And it was miserable on the pitch as well. Obviously on the pitch as well.
Really bad.
And so it was a tough gig to play. And having said that, Millwall still beat us. Where they played in the same conditions and they beat us fair and square.
I mean, I thought Millwall came to Villa Park last season and played very, very well. Should have beaten us. It was 0-0. And then they beat us 1-0 in the return at their place, but it was a dead rubber game.
Yeah.
At that point, I thought Millwall were terrible. A really awful team.
Yeah.
For us to be worse than that should be impossible, but it wasn't. We were worse.
Yeah.
That sums it up, I think.
I think it does. There's not a huge amount to say other than if you haven't watched the highlights, don't bother because they are dreadful. I mean, if you've
I'd love to know what they've pulled out.
There's not a lot to it. It's very
10
short.
minutes of that.
About just
They've
about.
done well to pull 10 minutes.
And I mean, if you've got to Thursday and you haven't watched the highlights, then there's definitely no point going back unless you're desperate for some Villa action on your international break.
Can you imagine Dean Smith sitting back and watching our last game and thinking, oh my God,
Yeah.
what have I done? I didn't think it'd be this bad.
What did I do? That's why it was 18-1. So let's have a quick look at the table. Villa in 15th on 15 points from 12 games, which is a bit grim reading. Obviously, there's a few teams around, and again, I feel like I say this every week. We're only 4 points off the playoffs, but now 10 points off Sheffield United, who are top.
That's starting to get silly again, like last season, isn't it? Where you're just making it really hard to catch the top two, and if that's the aim, I mean, if you chuck me 6 now, if you offered me 6 on a player, I'd take it. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, just don't see us making up 10 points. Even if we go on a wonderful run or something, 10 points is a lot, isn't it?
There's a couple of teams around there who the main one being Stoke, who would have thought that they would be doing better as well at this point.
Start.
I think I had Stoke to win the league.
You did. I had West Brom. I'm looking all right.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm looking at this though, and looking at the teams that are around us at the moment. Right, Birmingham felt like they didn't win a game for a long time. They're only a point off us.
Yeah.
Now Stoke had an awful start. They're ahead of us. Like, it's just not pretty reading, is it? But at least now we can go into it feeling positive about the future. I think we've got the right manager to take us up the table. Now it's still relatively early days, isn't it? But 3 wins from 12, 1 win in the last 11 is very poor.
Yeah, very disappointing. So Sheffield United top and West Brom a point behind them, and then Leeds, Borough, Forest and Sheffield Wednesday. None of them a particular surprise. Take maybe Sheffield Wednesday, I think.
I mean, we've lost the same amount of games as Sheffield United. Just shows you that draws kill you.
Yeah, 8 wins for Sheffield United compared to Villa's 3.
That's been our problem the whole time in the Championship. It's not particularly getting beat, because that does happen in the Championship. Mm-hmm. Anyone can beat anyone. I know that's very cliche what I've just said.
Yeah.
But it's draws that kill us. We need to start turning those draws into wins.
Yeah, it's totally true. But having said that, we could have lost some of those draws. We haven't deserved to win any of these recent games.
Oh mate, we were incredibly lucky to beat Wigan first home game of the season.
Yeah.
3-2, and
we were poor against Hull. Even we beat them 3-1, but they were poor as well. We deserved to win that game, but it wasn't a strong show.
I thought it was a pretty dogged away performance, that one.
Ugly.
Ugly, but they did what they needed to do.
Yeah.
In that game, Brentford was the best we've played, the 2-2. But even then, we were relying on a stoppage time goal. Preston the other day was a stoppage time goal. Like we scored a lot of late goals.
Well, the thing that's so disappointing is we've played so many teams around the bottom: Ipswich, Reading.
Yeah, can we get our fixtures up actually, just to look at?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they're not ideal. I think December's a particularly bad month, if I recall, when the fixtures were announced.
Let's have a look here.
Well, that's a horrible way of doing it, BBC.
Yeah, BBC are pretty ugly.
Yeah, that's a rank December, isn't it?
So we've got Borough away, West Brom away, Stoke at home, Leeds at home, Swansea away, and then finish with Preston on the 29th. So, I mean, Swansea's a tough Boxing Day trip.
I think those first 2 games of December, Middlesbrough, West Brom away.
I mean, Stoke are on the up, and they'll probably...
We might be on the up by then, though.
Yeah, but you think the first 5 games there, Borough, Albion, Stoke and Leeds and Swansea will all be hoping for at least a playoff finish, if not better.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a real test of our mettle, and good job that we've got Smith in, who's hopefully embedded his philosophy by that point, and we're playing well. Gives us a couple of months. November.
Let's work backwards, mate. It's completely.
I'm just having a look. Derby and Forest in November as well. So we've given away. Derby, of course. We've given away a lot of points to lower end teams, and now we're going to have to prove our mettle if we're going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's fair. Nothing else to expand on with that. I think what you said is frustrating. Is you look at the games that have just dwindled away, like Ipswich away playing against 10 men.
Yeah.
God, Preston game in the night when we had a chance to score a penalty in the last minute. Like, just just never get off to a convincing start, do we, in the Championship?
Not yet. And hopefully we won't have to do it again, but quite possibly we will do. And
if we do, we do. That's what I was trying to say earlier.
Yeah.
This has got to be a long-term appointment now. People have got to give him time. As I said last week, we can't be employing a new manager, and if things aren't going well after 3 months, saying, "Oh, we need a change." This has got to be it now.
Yeah,
it's got to be it. Out of the players, who do you think? I'm going to exclude Hogan because I think he's the obvious one.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think would be the biggest benefactor of someone who hasn't been in the team or hasn't been having a good time of Dean Smith coming?
Wow. In the immediate future?
Yeah, just in the next month or so.
I feel like Lansbury could have a new lease of life.
Is he going to get a game? We've got a lot of very good central midfielders.
I think it really depends, because you'd say players that aren't playing at the moment, because I feel like Hourihan's going to have another lease of life. I'm going to want to show, because he's been a bit disrespected by Bruce in the early start of this season, which
he got another assist on Saturday.
Totally unfair. Yeah, he did, of course, and McGinn's obviously come in and played well, but played like he was injured on Saturday.
Like he was very, very tired. McGinn is a different ballgame, playing Championship every few days than playing in Scotland, I think.
I'm really hoping that Neeland will have like you said, a lease of life, because he has been poor, and it's been a tough place to play in goal, because
hiding places. The
defence is so frail, but he's made some mistakes as well. There's no doubt about that.
He's held his hands up and admitted he's made mistakes.
I think Bree would probably get a new, at least maybe make that position his own. Right.
Worth pointing out, he was our best player on Saturday.
Yeah.
Bree. I'd say he was probably only a 6-7 out of 10 himself, but at least he was trying to come forward and he looked lively. I thought he played well, Bree.
And there was one point where he had a headed chance, and it was a very good header. He turned it well, because it came at him fast. He was the only guy in the box.
Died on that.
That's one thing that we didn't point out. Like, when we were attacking, there was nobody in the box ever.
Even in the 93rd minute, when Abraham's out wide swinging the crossing, no one there. How could you be chasing a game and have no one in the box?
I said this on Twitter. I was watching Match of the Day on Sunday morning, and Man U coming back to win 3-2 against Newcastle, and every time they attacked, they had 4 or 5 players in the box.
It's absolute overload, isn't it? Chuck everyone in there.
Yeah, if you're losing, just go for it.
Like, you can say, I think people laugh about Fellaini and Manu and Mourinho, but they bring him on.
Does the job.
He gets himself in the box and he ruffles feathers and he causes problems, and I think that opens up space for the other players. Yeah. I think he's a good player. Fellaini, personally.
The last one I want to say, and it's not strictly an answer to your question, but Grealish. I'm hoping that Grealish will kick on again. Yeah. Be inspired. Obviously, he had the whole Spurs thing in the summer, and just hasn't really shown the quality that he deserves. I wonder whether the Southgate, bringing in Mason Mount and other Championship players, will again give him another kick on, and then having Dean Smith will hopefully re-energise Grealish, and we'll see the best of him again.
Annoyed me a little bit that Mason Mount called up.
Why?
I'm not saying Jack deserves to be called up this season, because he said himself that he struggled.
Yeah.
They've called up Mason Mount after 2 months of. Obviously he's been good.
Yeah.
Well, from what I've seen of him, he's been good. But the second half of last season, Jack was the best player in the league.
Yeah, but it's about what have you done for me lately, isn't it?
No. So I'm not saying he should have been called up now. But why didn't we call him up for a friendly last season?
Oh, I see.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Why is that shifted now that suddenly we can go to the Championship, but last season we couldn't?
I would say because Southgate was a little bit more cautious. Now he's got 2 years.
I suppose he's got a bit more freedom now, hasn't he?
Exactly. He can really see what's going on. Whereas before, he had to get something right before the World Cup. He didn't want to bring undue criticism. If Grealish had come in and played badly, that might have set Grealish back even further. So it might even be protection. 1, protection of Southgate, and 2, protection of Grealish.
Yeah, it's a long way back into the squad for him at the moment. I think now Maddison's obviously ahead of him doing well.
Yeah.
In the Premier League as well.
Yeah. Not too much to say. We're not going to do questions, because all of the questions we asked for came before the Dean Smith appointment. So apologies for that, but hopefully we've answered a few and probably raised a few more questions in the meantime. Dan, you tweeted this Scott Hogan link from the Daily Mail, talking about how, the headline says, "My head wasn't completely in it." So Hogan's relationship with Bruce, I haven't read it completely, but
he basically said as a man he liked him, but as a manager it's very difficult. It was difficult circumstances for him.
Yeah.
To try and play. He was told he was going to get back in the squad this season, and he's been fit for 5 weeks and has been nowhere near. It's like a lot of broken promises, saying how hard, basically he was just told to work hard up front, and that was it. Like, he was basically saying there was no tactics really between the lines.
Going back to your question, Scott Hogan's another one that could massively benefit.
I said excluding him.
Oh yeah, of course you did. Yeah.
Because he's the obvious one, because he's done well under Dean Smith.
Who would you say? Anyone that I haven't
I think
rambled
you've
through?
covered the one. I mean, you've been through the whole. It's going to make a difference.
I'd like to
to
hedge
anyone.
my bets.
I'd like to be at training when everyone's back from the international break. I bet that's lively. I bet that'll be.
Well, you
really,
work for the
really
club, don't
intense. According to some people, I don't know how they can say that, but never mind.
Never mind.
Especially currently.
Indeed. So it's a little bit shorter this week because we're not getting into the questions. But
I did my poll.
Oh yeah.
That made the notes.
Have you got the results?
Yeah, it's a landslide, mate.
Was it?
Did you not see?
You were at 40%, and I was hovering around 25%.
Yeah, it's nowhere near.
I was hoping for a push.
No push.
I was surprised by how many people voted. So at one point it was mooted on the questions who should be the next Villa manager out of the Villa View team. Obviously me, Dan, Rolo and Dolan went for it. Dan, you win with 42%.
Sorry, I was laughing at Rollo's score.
Of the votes. I come in second at 25%. 21% Dolan. A lot of comments for Dolan.
Every comment seemed to be Dolan, which I was looking at it thinking, oh my God, Dolan's going to win.
I wonder if he's got a few bots. Like Dolan's just got a few
There's people
fake
saying, bring
accounts.
back Dolan.
Yeah, exactly.
Love Dolan. What a guy, talk sense.
No, yeah,
It
exactly.
seems to be all the same things with Dolan, doesn't it?
Terrible shoes. And Rolo finishing up last at 12%. A few people.
He was not happy, by the way.
Dave Alford saying that he wouldn't pick Rolo just because he wants him to keep on doing the Villa View, which means by that logic you're the most expendable.
That's it. That's probably fair.
955 votes for that, which is just a bit.
Who would you pick?
Oh, me. I
You
fancy
can't
myself
pick
as a
yourself.
bit of a manager.
So I would definitely pick myself out of us four as well.
Would you?
Yeah, of course I would. I'm sure the other two would say exactly the same. Rollo would pick me, actually.
That's one of the most exciting things about having a son.
What, being a manager?
Yeah, I'm going to be
you don't know, you're not
Underage
manager.
manager.
He was the
yeah,
he was
like
like,
management.
I think if like his first words were "Dad," and you'd be like, "No, manager."
Gaffer.
Yeah.
Gaffer. No, it's that's going to be. My dad was always our football manager.
Yeah.
I was looked up to my dad in that role. So
If you had to choose,
I would pick.
would you?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't pick you.
Oh wow! Who would
Actually,
you
I'd.
pick? I mean, it's not.
Dolan's a bit erratic. I would.
Dolan's
pick
too
him.
emotional.
He's very erratic. His tweets. I think he put a tweet out the other day. I won't embarrass him about what he said. He was deleted very, very promptly after he got a bit of stick.
He's all about the one-word tweets at the moment, isn't he? And that will change with Dean Smith, but he was against the regime in the end, and it's all about the one-word.
The trouble I have with you as a manager, right, is you'd get James Bray into the dressing room, and he'd be like, James, statistically in training, according to my notes, you've been the best player this week in training. You're in the team on Saturday, and then you'd look down and you'd be like, oh no, actually, sorry, James. Sorry, James. Al Mohammedi's been better than you. Actually, you're not in the team anymore. I'd worry about things like that with you as a manager, and dress sense on the touchline.
I don't think that matters. Some people said that I'd be all suit and tie. I wouldn't actually. I'd be in the tracksuit.
Be in the tracksuit.
Yeah, and
I'd pick myself though out of those four.
Would you?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought Dolan would run me closer in that, because people always seem to like Dolan's opinions and the way he acts. I'm surprised to have won by that much.
Yeah, so for around 1,000 votes, that means you picked up 400 votes, essentially.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank
I
you.
mean, you put it up, so it's your followers. Maybe if I'd put it up.
Well,
The
you
12
get
people
retweeted
that
by the
would've-
Villa View, and I'm sure I saw that you retweeted it as well.
I mean,
Dolan definitely would have retweeted it.
There's no hiding.
Thinking he was going to win, seeing other comments. Rollo's got to be disappointed with 12% though.
Yeah.
That is low.
It's tough.
That is really low.
Right, let's get out of here. Thank you very much for watching. Do you want to do the outro? I kind of started it then, and then
You've started,
then
so you
fell
might as well
apart.
do it. But this is your last chance. If you get it wrong this week, you're not doing them
I thought
again.
it was good last week.
I only swore that.
That's how bad it was.
It was absolute trash. I think Kevan texted me saying how bad it was.
Well, Kevan should be called out because
That's true. Didn't
we
turn
were
up.
supposed to. I've never met Kevan Grealish, but we were supposed to meet on Saturday. Didn't turn up, did he?
You'll soon learn he's not the most reliable of people.
Very poor, very poor. Well, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully, we've answered your questions on Dean Smith, John Terry. As always, leave your comments in underneath
Sorry
the
to
video.
interrupt your outro.
See, this is where it happens.
I feel guilty that it's only 43 minutes, but then I was sitting there thinking, Actually, I've got to go to work now.
Yeah.
Like, I actually need to do my real job.
Yeah.
At this point, it's tough, isn't it?
It's tough.
Let us know if you want us to do early morning podcasts again. I'm not sure it was...
Don't, because I can't do those.
No, that's good. Oh, I thought it was like a regular thing. Now you wanted to do it.
At the moment, I'm working from home, which is fine because I can start working on the train at 9 a.m. But when I'm in the office, I'm in at 9 and that doesn't work.
The good thing is we've got the Dean Smith news out there. Hopefully Rollo will work some magic and get this out early. I guess we'll know by the time you listen to that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Carry on.
Let us know your thoughts on the Smith-Terry combination. We'd love to read them. And obviously, iTunes reviews always great as well. So if you do like the content, make sure you like, subscribe and share it. That's awesome. We appreciate everything that you do to share the content. It's really, really nice. And that's pretty much it. It's international break, so we'll be back again next week.
Yeah, we're here every week.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. So, thanks very much for watching. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
If you enjoyed that video, why not watch another? Click the video choices on screen now to go and watch them in full. Be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking our logo there on the left. Easy peasy.